Come on, baby.
There we go. Yes.
What's going on, people? It is 8 a.m. and it's Saturday, baby. What is happening?
Good morning.
Good morning, James. We have a stranger on the stage. Should we introduce the
We
celebrity?
do. So you don't have our names up, so I'm going to have to do that. Today we welcome my brother Brian. So I'm going to do this way. My brother Brian, and he has no idea what sacrificial lamb he is today, but he has willingly decided to come and join us today because this topic that we are hitting today, which Jesse will talk about in a little bit, is near and dear to both of our hearts. And some of you have seen some of that this week. And so we thought it would be perfect timing. And one, he's just an important person to me. So I was excited for us to have this opportunity to talk to you today.
Yes. Brian, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing really well. It's early. I'm usually up Saturday mornings at 7 to go play. Well, I'm up at 6 to go play soccer at 7 to get that out of the way for the rest of my day. So this isn't too early for me, but I'm missing soccer to do this, and Jen knows that's a big deal.
That's
huge. It's a big deal. I know it's a big deal. Son of a gun. Well, thank you.
But happy to be here. Yeah.
Yes. And I promise for sure to make this a memorable experience for you and everybody else, of course. And so for all the No BS tribe out there, just setting the stage so y'all know what to expect. I'm getting a pass on sharing anything.
No passes.
It's just going to be Brian and Jen
sharing passes.
All of their intimate thoughts and experiences.
Somebody said hi, Uncle Brian.
Oh, James Gable said, let's get this started. What's up, James? We're coming to D-Town Sunday. I'm flying into Denver Sunday. I'll be there through Wednesday. I hear there's a threat that we're going to come by and harass you a bit, my friend, so you best be ready.
I thought D-Town was Dallas. Wait a minute.
He's going to Denver. And, people that are not in Dallas don't reference D-Town as Dallas. So
got it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Dallas is just a 5-hour drive. That's what Dallas is for me. So what was there homework, or who's out there? We got people out there.
We got all kinds. You gotta hit a couple of those first before
James Gatorius is saying, good morning, everyone. Yeah, folks, tell us hi. Steve Martin says, welcome, Brian. Brian, I don't know if you know Steve Martin, but he is the grand poobah of marketing for the No BS tribe. Jennifer Quigley, she's here. I saw her in the comments leading up, and it's like, oh, new person. Thank you, Jennifer.
Welcome, Jennifer.
Dr. M coming from the other side. He says, great to see all of y'all at 7:30 p.m. in India. Dedicated Mr. DJ Hootie Hoots. Again, Adam is in the background. He's running all the controls for us. Miss Wally Roman says, buenos dias. Wally, how are you? Please stop avoiding my calls. I'm not trying to collect any money. Simon Maria says, welcome to the tribe. Simon has been with us for a minute now. Super supportive of all the trades work that we're doing. Oh my God, who is that? Who's that, Jen?
You know who that is. That's our celebrity guest that pops in every once in a while. So that is Alex. That is in the other room and watching this as usual, and is excited to see Uncle Brian on the stage.
Yes, she says, good morning,
hi, Alex.
That's the coolest. Miss Rachel Boyd, good morning, Miss Rachel. She is the
keeps me together
of the Jennifer Lacy fan club. I thought I was going to fill that role, and she kicked me out. Oh, Mike Hyman. No BS. Let's go, Jen and Jess. What's up, Mike? How you doing, sir? Did you see his post the other day?
Yes. I already commented on it. He already connected to me, so yeah.
Ooh, fancy. Larry, how you doing, Mr. Larry? He says, good morning, everyone. Yeah, we got everybody.
I know, we got all kinds of people. Good morning, Kirby.
Kirby is a real person again. So I guess we got to ask Kirby, do we get to hand over the mantle of unknown LinkedIn user to Brian Melcher now, or is Kirby gonna like keep that? Like that's all hers. George Hunt, telling us good morning. Well, how you doing, my man? Miss
Oh, yeah.
Amy, always. She says hello to Alex. Amy, there is a message, a LinkedIn message to you for a very special request. So please check it out and don't be scared. We'll be gentle. Mr. Ian Smith, my man in Dallas, says good morning, y'all. What's going on, Ian? Man, I love this. Sarah, Miss Sarah is here. You know, Sarah's up in Minnesota as well, and I keep bragging about the amazing tortillas that HEB, the butter tortillas that HEB has. And I keep saying I'm going to take them some, and I keep failing to do so. So today or tomorrow, I'm going to go get, hopefully they don't sell out. Maria Martin says, Lila says good morning and hello
Good morning, Lila.
Lila's a little, I'm assuming. Boom.
Yes.
David Brown. How you doing, David? From Mesa, Arizona. Dang, we got them from everywhere. Okay, so please keep the comments coming. It seems like mostly LinkedIn, the people that are out there in Facebook land and YouTube land, we love you. Looking forward to providing a meaningful experience, and it's going to be meaningful for those of us on LinkedIn, I'm sure you got to see Jennifer's. Like if you missed, I don't see how you could have missed it because they got so much run. There was so much depth to what you were sharing, Jen. And so the topic for today is the most influential person in your life, like life of all time. And so the three of us have a person identified, and we want to know as the conversation goes, all of y'all out there in the Omniverse, let us know who that is, and don't pull it, Jesse. Don't just put a name. Let us know why. The why is pretty darn important as it comes to this. And I'm going to do my best to avoid sharing mine.
And which will not happen because you will absolutely have to share today. I'm a really good deflector. You know that, right?
Yes. So, Jen, like we're talking about the most influential person in our life. Mm-hmm. We kicked off the year talking about identifying your impact and owning your impact. How does that influential person tie to identifying and owning impact?
So again, our biggest, I guess the way we started was Kirby helped us kind of direct some of this conversation into when we're out there. And you and I have this conversation a lot, is we've got to own the impact we're having. We've got to own it. We've got to be able to go out there and identify and see the things we're doing great at and the things that we need to be like, that's our superpower. That's what we do that help people around us. And so that's kind of how we've talked about a lot of things over the last couple months. And then as we talked, I think some of the conversations went to, again, the 5 people that you surround yourself with, who is that one person. And so we felt it was big enough, because usually that one person or those 5 people, whoever that is, that you identify something that they've done plays into the impact you're having and the importance of you owning it. So it all ties together, which is the reason why we're here today talking about that one person.
Absolutely. So I guess we'll kick it off with, would you mind kind of enlightening those that missed?
Yes.
Or you know what? Let's go to Brian. Brian,
yes.
I saw you interacting with Jennifer's post on LinkedIn. Can you give us your thoughts on how much she poured out there and the way the responses influenced or impacted you?
Yeah, I can start by saying that Jennifer's a very, how would I say it? She's not, she doesn't share a lot of personal things, and that's just my observation of her over a period of time. I know here lately it's been much different, and it's very difficult for her to be very vulnerable when it comes to things that affect her emotionally. And this is definitely one of those things. for myself as well. When it comes to my kids and their health or something that's going on, or my dad, those are the two things that will get me. And I have to stop sometimes, and I have to kind of catch myself and get myself caught back up. But Jennifer is very much the same. Just watching her, just communicating with her leading up to this was exciting, just because it hasn't been something that we vocalized a lot. You know, we talk about things that this individual has had an impact on constantly, just because it's in our everyday life, everything we do. And we've got two younger brothers that can absolutely assess and confirm the same information. It's crazy how consistent it is. But just talking with Jennifer this week, it's been very fun, a little sad, exciting to really kind of revisit and put him right back up on that pedestal that he's never left, but in our minds we kind of drift off and back and forth with our lives and have to kind of deal with things. So it's been good. I've had to kind of pace myself in it. Talked to Jennifer quite a bit this week just about it specifically, and her vulnerability and all of this is amazing to me, just because I know who she is. She's not normally like that. She's very reserved, and she controls a lot of that information. So I'm excited to get it kind of out there for sure.
Man, you use the word control, and I agree 100%. Especially as it comes to the information, like this type of intimate information. I know that it's important because, not everybody's awesome, right? Some people are less than awesome. And if they learn things, they can be irresponsible with that. And so me seeing what Jennifer was, I knew like it was going to be big. And then I'm like son of a, this is deep stuff. And so you already know, Jen, you're next. But before you go, Miss Angela Gardner so far seems to be the first to share. She said she has so many that have influenced her in so many wonderful and challenging ways. Angela, thank you for sharing the comment. The rest of the No BS tribe, let us know. We got my buddy Vincent Trevino from the Deuce Dime, San Antonio, fellow plumber, says good morning. And then Buddy's like showing off because he's on LinkedIn and YouTube. Like he's hanging off of his hard hat and he's clicking away or something. What's going on, buddy? Love you, my man. So Jen, would it be fair if I said you think through things before you make the action?
Absolutely.
So would you mind sharing with the tribe, what was it that you were thinking in the development of your post, of the lessons that you had from your father?
Yes. So I realized that I like to have a plan. Even doesn't have to be a fully vetted plan, but I like to have a plan. And my interaction and my relationship and the stuff you and I have done have helped me realize that sometimes it's okay to have an idea and just go with the idea. And then the plan kind of starts to evolve and starts to surface. And then usually it's a better plan than what I would have thought of in the beginning. So let's just put that out there. This week, I already knew it was going to be a tough week. I already knew, I think Brian and I had talked about it a little bit. I had some stuff going on, some pursuits we were doing at work, some other things that were tying back to the things that had to do with my dad. And I think it made me really reflect a lot on the last 20 years. And I thought, I'll do a post, just because this week's going to be a big week. And then as I started trying to figure out what that post was going to look like, just other things kept popping up, other this, and this is important, and this is impacting this, and this is, and it really made me stop. And I talked to Brian about this a little bit too. And I was just like, I don't think it's a post. I think it's something that I need to share. And I need to share because, again, we already know, like the four of us know what he did, and we feel it, and it's in everything we do. It's in every decision we make, every conversation, when something pops up, an experience. Like the other three are there, and there's not any other people on this planet that can do what the four of us can do, and they can go in a moment because of his background with us and our memories of us that can do that. So again, those of you that maybe are coming in, single father. I was 9. My youngest brother was 4. There's 4 of us, and he raised us, all 4 of us. And so that like he was our rock. He was our everything. He was what shaped and formed everything that, we do and we say, and our integrity and the way, we show up, everything. He shaped all of that. So we give him full credit. I'm not speaking for Brian. I'll let him speak in a minute, but we give him full credit for the sacrifices, for everything he did to really instill some stuff inside of the things in us. And Brian will have a story later on a poster that he put in the house about jewelry or something. But anyway, he had some morals and some things that he was no nonsense. He was not going to budge. And as children, you're like, you just get, dad is, you just kind of push it off and you make it be, it's just, it's stupid or whatever. And every single thing he did and everything he stood for and everything he did not budge on, like, I don't know, Brian, I don't know if you can speak to it, but like, we are the exact same way now. Like we feel, and our convictions are so strong because of the way he did things. And so that conversation led to those life lessons, which Brian and I, we have about 100 of them, but you got 4 of them this week. And so that's kind of what led to the series of posts instead of just the single post that led up to, from starting on Monday and then leading up to Friday's kind of culmination of them. So I don't know if that answered the question, but there you go.
It does. It does. It gives some good background. Ms. Jennifer says she loves your post this week. What a legacy your father has left. Thank you for sharing all of these posts and the lessons learned from him. Yes, thank you from me also. I took a wild guess. I noticed there's this little orange color theme with you. And I said, I'm going to put on my orange shirt. And then I learned why orange was important. And it was just like kind of a random fluke. And Nurkash from South Africa says, Jan's t-shirt is awesome. What does it say? Love, believe, pray, trust, grace. Ooh. Yeah, for real. So Brian, there was a story. Jennifer mentioned something about a story.
So yeah, I'm going to kind of come back in and add to what Jen said. My dad had a poster, and I totally forgot about this till just now, and she just mentioned it. So I'll start with Jennifer. Do you have your ears pierced?
No.
That's unusual. I mean, very unusual. So my dad, big guy, very, very authoritative figure, definitely stood his ground. Jesse and I had a conversation earlier before you got on about this specific topic, and we had a friend of mine come over one day, and he was probably 16, 17, and he was in the house, and he had an earring on, and it was a male. And I wouldn't say my dad was very, just over like Christianized, but we went to church every Sunday. It wasn't a question. It wasn't an option. It was Sunday, get up, we're going to church. When we got home, we cleaned the house. That was the Sunday. And so it was clockwork. And so to get back to my story, but so he comes over, and next thing I know, my dad sees him, and then he and I are having I wouldn't even say a conversation. My dad lost his mind, and the entire house knew it, about there's a person that is a male in his house that has an earring on. And, and I I thought he was overreacting. And again, it was just him really setting the stage and helping us understand that's not something that he has a problem with outside his home, but in his home, this is what the expectation is. And it wasn't even so much for him as it was for us. And that's not something that he allowed in his house. And so I was blown away. And of course, I didn't even have to ask my friend to leave. He volunteered to leave, and that was the end of that. And so if he came back over, which he did, he just took it out, and that was it. I mean, it was easy. And so, in the next coming weeks, my dad had a list of things that he did not allow in our home. And one of the top 3, I think, was like no male head jewelry. And so that was just him. And even to this day, I mean, out of all 4 of us, none of us have had anything pierced. None of us have any tattoos. And that was a big deal for him, too, while we were living with him. And I don't have anything against either one of them. And I don't think my dad did either outside of his house. But in his home, this is what he expected. And this is what he drove through to us. And so, and my friends were like, this is how your dad is. So when they came over, they covered up their tattoos and they took their head jewelry out for if they were males. And so obviously, I bring that up. I kind of shift into that from Jennifer's story. But my first question, I guess, exemplifies Jennifer's take on that as a girl at the time and a woman now. I'll come back to you, Jennifer. Why don't you have your ears pierced?
Well, a couple of things. One is my dad wouldn't just do something because my mom wanted it. So before my mom and dad got divorced, it wasn't just because my mom wanted it. He wanted it to be something that I want. And then it got to the point to where later in teenage years, where I probably could have pushed it. I probably could have said, I'm old enough, I can take care of it. I don't think I cared. I think at that point, because of how he felt, and in my mind, it just wasn't, it wasn't that big a deal of what color lipstick am I going to wear. It wasn't a big deal to me. And part of it is his conviction. And I could see how important it was for him. And but you and I both, Brian, like we have girls. And our girls did not get their ears pierced as babies, which sometimes they do, and I think a lot of that is because we wanted to make sure it was a choice they made and not one that someone else made for them. So.
Well, so on that, Angela Gardner says, parenting is the hardest job ever. I'm sure many of our tribe out there can totally agree. And Steve Martin says, yeah, and most rewarding. I'm assuming y'all are kind of living that a lot of it. And so we have some, Dr. M. Dr. M says, all I can say, such issues are great. It made me reflect on my memories. I seem to know who significantly influenced me. This weekend, I will pen few of the moments with him. That's the best way to say thanks to him as he passed on. Thanks to this group for helping me to reflect. Thank you, Dr. M. Thank you. That is beautiful. And then we have Simon Faria says the person who has influenced him the most is his father also. So we have a trend here so far. Lifelong lesson is be your own man. A call to be independent in thought and action. He is beautiful, contemplative man who leads by example. Love you, Dad. That's awesome, man. Thank you, Simon. So what are y'all's thoughts?
So I know we've talked a lot and you've kind of thrown it at us. And so I don't think it's, I just want to make sure we answer it. Like, I'm going to tell you my father is my answer. I just don't, we haven't said it. I think we've kind of skated around it. And so I'm not going to speak for Brian. Brian can speak for himself. But I think a lot of what we're talking about right now is that person that's impacted us because we're speaking from our perspective. And if we have a chance, Jesse, I know Brian has a letter that I want him to frame it up because I don't want to mess it up. But I think it you're hearing a lot of things from me on LinkedIn. You hear Brian and I talking about this person that we hold in such regard, and we are his children. And so our perspective is a little bit different than probably other people. But again, maybe Brian can frame up kind of another perspective.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to kind of introduce what I'm about to read. So this was a neighbor of ours when we were children, and he gave us this letter right after my dad died. And again, my dad's passed away, and they haven't mentioned yet, if you don't know, but yesterday, March 4th, was our So George, our youngest brother, his birthday was yesterday. And so we're celebrating it today. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Very excited just to get to hang out with everybody. And we're meeting for lunch. And it's going to be great to have everybody there. So my dad died. He passed away on March 4th, which is my youngest brother's birthday, 20 years ago yesterday. And so this is a pretty significant date for Jennifer and I and our family. And so that's why I'm here. That's one of the reasons why I'm here. Jennifer wanted to really, really celebrate this and have me on to support and speak and just, give my side, give my story, share things, support, and really be able to also say that, my influential person is also my dad. And as you've seen posts from Jennifer, and I've commented on them, and I'm here today, you'll see why, and you'll understand kind of where we are, and hopefully it helps reflect, something that you can think about. And like Dr. M, I believe it was, it just made me click. I was like, if you haven't had a chance to tell the most influential person in your life that they are that person, this is the time to do it. I mean, don't waste time, because they need to know, let them know how important they are to you. Because if I could go back and I could have that conversation with my dad, I mean, I would do it every day. So do it. So I'm going to read this letter just to come back to it. And it's a letter from our neighbor. And it's basically a letter talking about the first time he ever met my dad. And I had my wife read it to me again last night, and I can tell you, this is a good letter. And I've written it from the actual copy, and so I may mess up a couple words here and there, but it's very impactful when it comes to another perspective of the individual that Jen and I are speaking of. And so I thought it was great, and I've kept it for a long time, and it really is something that moves me. And I wanted to kind of share it with everybody. So are you ready?
Not really, but go ahead.
Jesse, are you ready?
Come on. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So hopefully this individual doesn't mind me sharing this. I mean, he gave it to us to share, and I actually read it at my dad's funeral, so I know he doesn't mind us sharing it. So I'm just going to throw it out there. His name was Kurt, with a K, Stover, Stover. And this was his thank you to my dad. All right. So George, which is my dad's name, which is named, he's my youngest brother is named after my dad. So he was George Henry Lacy II. My youngest brother, George Henry Lacy III. George, my friend, normal day, normal neighbor. Where can I start? I first met George on a sunny afternoon in September of 1997. My wife and I just moved into a house down the street from where George lived. One of the first things I noticed about George was his easygoing manner and that little goat Thumper. We'll get into that in a minute. Things. Thumper was George's pet, his friend, and a little bit of George himself. Now, how strange I thought this man is walking down the street with suspenders on his pants, an old pair of shoes, no shirt, and a little black goat trailing after him. Then I got to know George really quickly. He stuck out his big, thick hand and gripped mine in his. He said, "Oh, wow, that's a mighty fine grip you have there, friend. I know a good, honest man by his grip." "Yes, sir." I smiled and replied, "I try to do my darndest." George didn't tell me his name at first, so I told him mine. "My name is Kurt Stover. What's yours?" "George Lacy. And this is Thumper. She's my pet. She's a real good goat." At which he showed me how he would take his hand and make it like another goat's head with his fist, stick out his outside fingers, and bump his goat's head with his knuckles. And the goat would absolutely rear up and go at it every single time he did it, just like clockwork. I couldn't wait to go tell my wife about this guy down the street. What a unique and wonderful world we live in. It's the Georges that touch our lives in one way or another. I saw a kind, gentle man who loved his children and neighbors. I heard him talk to his children often, and he would use phrases that really supported his support and care for them. I know George was the type of man that would walk through fire to help his children and his friends. The world we live in is cold and cruel. You would never know it by talking to George. He would often stop you and talk about anything. I thought he was lonely, but I was wrong. He was just being friendly. A friend like that doesn't come along too often. I look back at times when he wouldn't just sit and talk, or he would just sit and talk about nothing, or so I thought. I was learning to be a kinder and more compassionate, and George was the teacher. Never lecturing or stressing his belief, just talking like a friend should. I should think we all came away from George a little bit wiser and a little bit happier. He will be missed. But think of it. George at the pearly gates, and him sticking his hand out to St. Peter. That's a mighty fine grip you have there, friend. And that's it.
My goodness. That is beautiful. And thank you for sharing that. I'm going to go to the comments to give us a breather. Um, wow, man,
Yeah.
amazing. So, whew, I feel like I need to call my dad today. Mike Kyman says, women in construction, right? As we enter into women in construction, let's all remember all the influential women in our lives and our job sites. Um, Jennifer kind of fits that mold, right? Uh, Miss Sarah Strand, she brings it. She has a total tie on the people that influence her the most. Like even, right? Nobody's ahead. Her mom, who's a total badass, she can weld, she can build, work on a farm, do it all, and yet spent her whole career taking care of special needs children in the school district. And her very first boss out of college, Michael Schwartz, he taught her that it doesn't matter where you're at today because the world is full of opportunities and it's up to me to choose my dreams 100%. Thank you, Miss Sarah, for that one and for joining us here. And we got some comedy relief there. We got the goats. that Jen, you just told me about the ghost the other day. I was like,
I did.
Like that sounds like the coolest thing.
And he was in my dad. He went and got a custom made stamp, an ink stamp, and everything he did, whether it was he did coin collecting. He did everything he did. He always would sign his name and put that goat stamp, which is the same. It was like I saw that and it made me think of that stamp. He put that goat stamp on everything.
Oh, yes, I bet Steve Martin is going to. That goat ain't going away. Steve Martin says awesomeness because yes, absolute awesomeness. Um, Jennifer Quigley, man, she ain't playing. She showed up. I think it's her first time, and she's really being interactive with us. Thank you, Jennifer.
Yes.
Just thank you for the letter. Sounds like an amazing human being. I agree. I mean, Jennifer, you and I have been spending a lot of time together. And Brian, we got to meet in Dallas and harass Jen a little bit. And just given, if I think of things in terms of the result of his work, y'all are the product, and y'all are amazing. I mean, for me, it's a special thing to be able to hang out with awesome people like y'all.
Thank you, Jesse. But stop. Okay, so Brian and I have just like bared our souls, and you don't get a pass. So I know everybody here wants to know about Jesse also. So
there's
you can keep pulling up comments. That's fine. You can give them all the credit because they are what make us who we are. But when you finish bringing up all the comments, then we're going to go to you.
Okay. No, come on, people. Y'all need to throw in the chat. You don't want to hear me. Let's stay in the Lacy fam. So Yesenia says, beautiful letter. I feel like I know George. No wonder you are such an incredibly beautiful soul, Jennifer. Yep. Thank you so much for sharing and reading the letter, Brian. This warmed my heart and felt like a coat of warm honey. I like that. And Brian,
I'm going to be reaching out to you too, so just be ready. We got something coming up.
Greatest of all time, Daddy Lacy, the goat. The goat. Oh.
I love it.
Yep. And Brian, I applaud you, my man, because in prep, we had the conversation and coming out with that much heart and that much soul and bearing so much is not a normal practice for you.
No.
And so thank you for letting me be a part of that. It's a special event, 100%. Thank you for trusting us with that. Uh-oh. So,
yes. On you.
Damn it. Y'all are getting bullied over here. Adam's down there posting.
Thank you, Adam. I appreciate that.
Okay. So the most influential person in my life, is my baby brother, Renee. Some of y'all have seen him, met him, talked to him. He's my co-host whenever he's not, providing for his family and being a good husband and a good father. And it sounds weird, right? Because he's 18 years younger than me. I was a senior in high school when he was born. Uh, but he is my absolute hero. He is the person that I aspire to be. He's the man that I compare myself to or work towards, because he's so damn practical. He's so damn thoughtful, um, responsible, and yes, he's a human being. He's done some goofy stuff, but nothing, nowhere near the degree that I have. And it's again, he's 18 years younger than me. So there were two significant things that happened that really said that he's the guy. He was in seventh grade, and he was in the same circumstance that I was. We have a different dad, but he's still my brother. He's my brother, too bad. And dad was not present, and single mom. And so when I was in seventh grade, that was the time in my life when all of a sudden the cheap tennis shoes that I was getting from Payless meant that I wasn't cool. Like sixth grade, they were tennis shoes and nobody cared. Seventh grade, I had to get me some Reebok pumps, right? Like that was the thing. And so at that period in my life, there wasn't a positive male figure in my life. So I sought one out. I sought a bunch of them out, and I picked the oldest, toughest guys in the neighborhood, and that shaped my life for a very long period of time. And there was a lot of learnings and a lot of missteps as a result of that. So fast forward, got this baby brother, which was super awesome, right? Because when you're 18 to 22 and you got a little kid like under 5 years old, man, it worked in so many ways for me. But as he got older, he got into seventh grade. I remember he was all of a sudden his social awareness was starting to blossom, and he was feeling awkward, and I remember just thinking like, man, that sucks because I know where you're at. Now, at the same time, I was living a life of consumption. I was a black hole of need, and all I did was use and manipulate everything and everybody around me to fulfill my desires. So I was on a track, I was way off base. And again, I'm looking at this little guy who, I used to feed and change hungover and puke. It took me 20 minutes to change his damn diapers. He would fall asleep on my chest. And all of a sudden he's a seventh grader. He's starting to have hair in funky places, and he's getting weird things. And again, the assessment I made was, man, that sucks because I know what you're going through. And then like shortly there, I was like, wait a minute, stupid. Like you can't let him go through that. So right there in that moment is when I decided I had to be better for him. And so for a couple of years, it really was just fake it till you make it, right? I'm just gonna do. Oh, look, Anna. So Anna was. I met her through Gear Up, and so that when Anna and I met. Thank you, Anna. I needed that break. I got super involved in my baby brother's life, and I got involved in school and everything else. And on the surface, when I was volunteering and doing these things, it seemed like I was a responsible person. But really, things were falling apart in behind that. But it's what started the momentum for me to get to where I'm at now. And so that's one piece of it, huge piece of it. The other piece is he had the same problems. His father's from Jamaica. He's a black man. And my baby brother has never used that as an excuse for anything. He's never said my dad wasn't there. He's never said I'm a mixed whatever the hell, right? That is not in his being. And when I think of all the excuses that I've made for myself and continue to make for myself, when I think about him, I don't have any right to do that. And so, in terms of inspiration and motivation and targets and just direction, Renee is the one person that has influenced me the most. That's it.
Thank you.
Done.
Nosy, no passes for you today.
Jesse, I do want to comment. I mean, when you started talking about a sibling, obviously Jen and I have a lot in common when it comes to who we were truly impacted by. But I can tell you, Jennifer and I have a very unique relationship. And the other two aren't here, and I can say it, and Jennifer can confirm it, that there's a lot that Jennifer and I talk about. We've been through. We were able to support each other with and just help each other through life in general, that the other two just are not a part of. They're not that mentality. They don't understand that side of what we're doing and how it functions. And Jennifer is that person to me. And again, if I had to say two, she would be the other one, just because she's had some very tough times that I've been there for her, and and I don't do it because it's something that I feel like I've got a gift to do. I do it because it's just automatic. It's very natural. It's very easy. And for her, that's what I see as well. We talk constantly. It's not, I mean, we're 40, upper 40s. We're almost 50. And for us to talk as much as we do and have so much in common and our mindsets be so similar, it's just crazy to have that and to be able to live my life and know that she's a phone call away from me being a miserable wreck and the rest of my day being perfectly fine because she's put things in perspective for me. So, I don't want to get this pulled in a direction that it doesn't need to go, but I definitely wanted to say that and kind of say, I appreciate you sharing that, because I have that also, along with my dad. So, that was great. I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, man, my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer says, "Thank you, Jesse. You're welcome." I'm getting ganged up on with the Jennifers. Simon says that was beautiful. Thank you, Simon. And so to your point, right? I've told people that, and I tell him. So to your Brian, you mentioned it earlier, right? Like, those people are still in your life right now. Tell them, let them know. And there is not a month that goes by that I don't let Renee know that I'm proud of him and that he's my hero. And he always like, why do you say that? I don't understand. And I explain it to him, but he really can't, right? Like we have an odd relationship because yes, he's my baby brother, but again, I explained the 18-year age gap, and so I played kind of a paternal fraternal role, and I get a little pissed off sometimes because I have another brother, Ernest, who's a year younger than me. And like they get to play like brothers, like fart in each other's faces and just like do dumb stuff. I don't really get to do that because I had to be the disciplinarian in many cases. I had to be the authority figure. So there's that. Like I wanted so much, but he's kind of like, I don't want to get in trouble for being dumb. Oh, can I tell a story?
Yes.
Oh man. Okay. So when he turned, I can't remember if when he turned 18, I threw a party for him with the guys. It was a Texas Hold'em tournament, right? And so we had a Texas Hold'em tournament at the house, and it was. I remember Omar Land was there, Charlie Thomas was there, Harley, Doug was there, Jeremy. There was a group of my buddies that knew him, right? Because Jerry Chavez was there, and because he was always with me. And so we're playing poker, and of course we're drinking. He's not drinking, and they start telling stories about me. And there's some stories out. They had like good stories. And I remember halfway through the evening, he turns around and looks at me. He's like, "Man, all this time you've been making me like be responsible and behave, and you're a total screw up." Like, he didn't know that. Like, yeah, you're right. I'm a knockoff. I held him to a high standard, and he's an amazing human being now. I think mostly because of it. Um, so we have some people opening up in the chat. Y'all mind if I share some of this?
Please do.
Oh, we need a breather. Thank you, Hal. We needed that breather. So Hal says his two grandmothers tied for most influential. Mimi, his mom's mom, was his greatest supporter. She regularly reminded him that he could do whatever he set out to do. Nana was his dad's mom. She had made sure he was equipped to do great things, and he has. She insisted he went to college at a time when his mother wanted him to go work for the town where he'd always have a job, the security, right? The practical advice. And there was no question for Nana, who was born in 1898 and had 2 degrees, one from Wheaton, the other from Wheelock. She wouldn't get in the way of, I think it ran out of text, of his future or whatever. So, Hal, thank you for that.
Yes. I just want to speak to that just because one, I know it's resonating with Brian too. So we had a Nana, and it was my dad's mom, and so that was our Nana, and so for me, that just when he said those things, it just my grandmother was a teacher, my grandfather was a principal, my grandfather passed away when my dad was, I believe, 14, from a stroke. So he grew up with a single mom. Then my dad was a teacher. And then again, I went back to school, got my teacher. So it's like, again, the influence of those people in our lives and just how it carries through. And I mean, how it just resonated with me, one, because Nana had some no nonsense ways of doing things. She was born in 1908. So we probably could share some stories.
Oh, yeah.
For another call, for sure.
Yes. Oh, yes. More content. Kirby Coates, again, bullying me. She says she's loving Adam as the producer. We're all loving Adam as the producer. DJ Hootie Hoots spinning the ones and twos. He's dancing in the background, and we can't show up. So Jennifer Quigley, again, showing up for real. She says, most influential in her life personally, it's a tie. We got a lot of ties between her mother, Jean, and her husband, Joe. Both have shown her the true meaning of unconditional love. Professionally, her former college professor, Eileen Forstall. Eileen is a strong deaf woman who taught the American Sign Language and changed the trajectory of her career. Beautiful. Thank you, Jennifer. And now we got him. We got a bunch coming up. Okay, so I'm gonna pose this question to y'all so you can process and think, and not just y'all, but the No BS family. I think we have a banner about who are we the most influential person for. But there you go. So all the No BS tribe, do you know who you are the most influential person for? We've been talking about the person that influences us most. And so going back to Jennifer setting the stage about how we identify our impact and own our impact, we are likely that most important person for somebody else. And are we aware of that? Are we carrying ourselves appropriately and taking the ownership of the responsibility to pour into them and walk in the way they believe us to be? So think about that. Drop those in the chat. And Christopher Moody shares, he's got a mentally challenged brother, and anytime he feels life is getting him down, he thinks if he can make it through every day, so can I. He understands he is not like everyone else. Whew, but he wants to be like everyone else, and it's hard for him. Tries and walks with him and talk with him each week and tell him how proud he is. When his father passed, um, he will come live with me, and it will be hard for both of us. And as he would like to be his own guardian, but for so many reasons he cannot. He makes and the chat cuts off. Christopher, thank you for sharing that intimate thing. You got me. My eyes are sweating over here.
Ask Buddy. It's allergies. But Buddy says it's allergies.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's what Buddy says.
Yes, yes. Adam coming in, he says his father has been the most influential person to him, but not always in the best way possible. Fantastic point, right? Because we know sometimes an amazing example, while other times an amazing example of what not to do. 100%. Adam coming in from the background. Oh my goodness. James Gontoria says there have been many in his life that have influenced him, including the No BS tribe. Big thanks to all of us and all of y'all out there. The ripples of impact are bigger than most realize. 100%. And again, that's why we want you to think about who are you that special person for, because of the ripples of impact, because they are happening and we may not be aware. And so a lot of what the purpose of what we're doing is to elevate the awareness of how amazing we are, how amazing each one of you are, and the impact and connection that you have with the human beings in your life, at home, at the office, on the job site, both sides of the fence. Like it is a real thing. There's real responsibility with it. And so we appreciate y'all joining us on this path. Simon says, such wonderful stories across the board. No BS love. Watch
Steve.
out. Yes, Steve's got high pollen too. So yeah, let's get some like thumbs up and heart. Like if you got the pollen, if you got the allergies going on during this live stream, let us know, because the three of us are having allergy problems up here right now. What's on your mind, Miss Jennifer?
So I'm gonna try to approach this a little bit, and I have a special guest that I think wants to share hers, but we'll get to her in just a second. So she's over here in the background. But I also think as I answer this, I'm not going to answer for Brian, but I have a feeling it may be similar. So those of you that have watched any of the posts this week, especially yesterday when I wrapped it up, I talked about being in the hospital with my dad, and talked about talking to him before he went into surgery for his, heart surgery, and asked him, was he scared? And was he, and he wasn't scared. He said he had done everything God put him on this earth to do. That was what his response was for me, and that it was going to be okay. And then he asked me a question, and Brian was there, and he said, please just promise me that you'll take care of George. And those of you, he's our younger brother. And he's just one that he is amazing, and he is special, and they have no idea the person that he is. But Daddy asked us that because sometimes George can lose his way, or sometimes George can question himself and not see the person that he is. And what I've seen over the last 20 years, and even before that, is the conversations I have with him. He's watching everything, and he's listening to everything. And he asks us all the time, do you think Daddy would be proud? Do you think Daddy would be proud of me? I just want Daddy to be proud of me. In the last 20 years. And so for me, when I have to think about that, again, there's a lot of people that I interact with and that I know that I impact. But for me, when I speak to him and when I say things to him, it matters, and he believes it. And if there are people in your life that you know that about, you have to hold that very carefully, and you have to be aware of that, and you have to make sure that you lean into that. So I'll let Brian answer that next.
You're on mute, Brian.
Right.
There we go.
Sorry, I had my wife speaking in the background earlier, so I had to mute it. So I can speak to that very specifically. I mean, not only was I there, but I remember thinking to myself that my dad knew what was going on when we were very, very, very little. And by design, he did a very good job of creating a very good bond between all four of us. We still all talk regularly. We see each other regularly. We all live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Very good, close relationship. But George was the youngest, and he was the one that definitely was going to need a little bit more of our help. And I mean, he's independent. He does everything on his own. He makes some bad decisions sometimes, even as an adult, but we all do, for sure. And
but he's also, we got to speak, he's also the one that's bought 2 cars with cash because he knows how to manage his money. So it's like
nobody does that. And he is, and that side of him is just beyond impressive. And so, but still, from a thinking process, he still has some challenges on how to get through some issues and deal with some problems and those type of things. And I knew right when my dad said that, I knew what he was referring to. Jennifer and I both did. And, we've recently talked to George about that specific conversation. And of course it moved George to tears just because he, like Jennifer said, he needs that approval. He wants that approval. He and I play on a men's soccer team together. We both played soccer for years and years since we were young kids, and we still play. I mean, and I can speak to that specifically. Is that even on the field after the game, how did I do, Brian? And of course, I know what he seeks that approval. And for someone like Jennifer or myself, that I know he values, our opinions, our advice, the things that we can help him with, he takes it and he uses it. He just doesn't ask for it enough on the things that he needs to. But, and I know exactly, what to do and how to do it with him and tell him everything he did great, and those are the things that he needs. And people, strive in life off of that. And, it doesn't have to be a George. I'm in a business. We're all in a business in some way, whether it's with our family, with our significant other, with our work. It's the small things. It's incredibly easy to tell them how bad they did or what they did wrong, but it's much more difficult but more rewarding to recognize the simple, small things that they do so well. And you'll be surprised at how far that takes someone and how encouraging and exciting that is to watch them glow the rest of the day. And so, I learned that a long time ago. And I can tell you, my dad gave me that. And I got that from him. And it was, he wasn't a very touchy-feely, emotional, didn't give cards and sentimental guy. But the practical nature of what he did and the love that he gave indirectly was just always there. And you just knew. It's like you felt safe, you felt comforted, you knew what was happening with him, and he didn't have any other way to do it. That's just who he was. But but so yeah, that was my support of Jen's conversation. Sorry.
So I want to add, because Brian's not going to take credit for this, but so they play men's soccer. The teams change around. You have to try out for the teams. You have to do that. And so Brian, and so they play together, which is a great thing for them. Like, it's so cool to see George getting elevated, but also feeling empowered to do things with Brian on this team, because they're really good. And Brian was changing teams. He was going to change teams, so he went and tried out with another team. And we were sitting there talking, and they were talking about, because they all know the different players. And Brian's like, yeah, I think this. And George's like, what about me? And Brian's looking at him like, what do you mean? He's like, what about me? What about me? He's like, George. He goes, they know if they take me, they take you. And I mean, the look on his face, like, I mean, I can't even describe it. He was just like, oh, like he didn't even realize, like, that's a given on any team Brian tries out on, that George's coming with him. And I mean, like that's example of what, like, exactly what Brian just talked about.
Yes. That's amazing. So we're coming up on 11 minutes till finish time.
Yes.
And I don't know, I heard a rumor that we were going to have a cameo.
Yes. So let me find her real fast. Let's see. You ready? It's okay. That's okay. Okay. You want to come right here? Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Welcome, Miss Alex.
Hey, Alex.
Oh, say hi. Hello. You gotta speak. Who's that right there? Say hi to Uncle Brian. Hello. Okay, so the question today is, who's the person in your life that's been the most influential or that's impacted you the most? So you have to tell them. But who is that for you?
So for all of us, probably our parents, my mama, but mine would be my sister Bella, because she can be rude to me sometimes, but that has taught me that sometimes people don't listen to you or they don't do what you say, and you have to like connect with them to know what they want you to do for them to listen to you.
Got it. So you have to kind of find that connection, and not just be mad because they're not listening.
Yeah.
That's a great one. She's gonna love you for that. Thank you.
Awesome. There it is. The VIP made an appearance. Oh my goodness. So we got 9 minutes left. I think we have do we have homework?
We do have some homework. Let's see.
So no. So there's another homework assignment. That was the homework for this one.
Yes.
There's one further down. Yes, that's the one.
Yes.
So who are the 5 people that you spend the most time with? And I don't. Y'all should know that DJ Hootie Hoots is the host of the Lean Builder Hoots on the Ground podcast, and the most recent episode was about trust, and he touches on this topic about the 5 to 7 people that influence you or that impact you. And so we've talked about like laser scope into the one person, and now what we want to talk about, what your homework is, to think about those 5 people, because the thinking around the idea is that we are the sum of the 5 sources we tap into the most. Ever heard that one before, Brian? Nope.
You're muted.
Sorry, I got a lot going on at the house. Everybody's waking up, and I'm just like, I don't want everybody to hear all this stuff going on. But yes, something of that nature. I have heard that before. Yes.
Good. And so that's what we want to present the No BS tribe with, is to be thinking, the conversation, our 4 a.m. conversations between Jen, Adam, and I revealed that that's not an easy question for everybody to answer. And so we've got Adam's nodding his head like, oh yeah. And so you got 2 weeks to evaluate that and think about it. And we got some beautiful comments that I'm not wrong. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to all of them, but some of the comments have a theme around the impact that this is having, right? And how it's causing us to shift and pause and reflect and think on things. James says, so many great stories told today. He's speechless as he processes things. He spent a lifetime hiding in a little box. And that's why he's showing up, and he's thankful for the No BS tribe. And we're thankful to you I have crazy ideas. I have crazy hopes and dreams and desires. And we talked about it last time, right? We talked about the starfish. And I talked about it on James's podcast, The Uncommon Communicator. His co-host brought it up. And Jen and I have talked about it because there's some pressure out there. Like, you spend every Saturday doing this. It's a lot of time. And what's the outcome? And what's the ROI? And what's the goal? What's all this stuff? And like, it's pretty damn simple. We just want to affect one person. And when you let us know that that's happened, like, my allergies start acting up again. So thank you, James. Thank you for that. Oh my goodness, this is amazing. And again, another comment. Ian says he appreciates that our stories about who influenced us. It inspires to continue on reflecting on what legacy he wants to leave for the people that he may influence. Your interactions with people may have a long-lasting effect even without you knowing. Exactly, right? Ripples of impact. That's exactly what we're talking about. And so whew, man,
I
even
know.
though this has been like a high pollen count day, we are going to have an after party.
Yes.
So the link has been posted in the chat. I'll post it here again in the next couple of minutes. And because I don't, I want to give y'all. We'll close with the closing thought. But I'm going to read one more comment, two more comments, and then we'll go to closing thoughts.
Okay.
Maria Martin says hers is opposite in that her dad left and she was raised by her mom and great aunt. She was 42 and three teenagers and a newborn. I'd say my mom is most influential, but insofar as I do the opposite for anything she said or did. For a positive influence, it's my best friend. Oof, she loved me before I learned to love myself. And seeing myself through her eyes has made all the difference. Maria, I feel you, girl. It is the people like Jennifer, Brian, Adam, all of y'all that help free me from the hall of mirrors that distort and magnify all of my shortcomings. And it's only through y'all's eyes, the No BS tribe's eyes, that I get a reprieve from that mess. Man, okay. Yesenia says, my mammy, Mercedes Chavez, is my most influential person. She left her country to get away from abuse with my three older brothers without knowing what was in store. She's the strongest person she knows. Because of her, she is who she is and becoming. I don't tell her enough, but definitely will after today. You know what? That's a homework assignment that we didn't think about. Brian, and thank you for pointing that out, right? Go and tell your people that you love them and let them know how much they mean to you. And so with that,
Okay, no, do. So we got, before you do final thoughts. So one, pull up Rachel's just because she doesn't add a lot to the conversation. So if we can pull up Rachel's comment, just because I love her and she's giving me some love this morning. And so I want to just let her know that I appreciate what she's done for me. And she's, I don't know, she helps me be better. And so if you can find it, if not, it's not a big deal. I just,
pollen count?
Yeah.
Yes, pollen count so high here, I can barely see the comment. No question, I am blessed to have Jennifer as a major influence daily in my life. So I thank her father, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, for raising an amazing woman.
Thank you, Rachel.
So closing thoughts, Mr. Brian. You're on mute.
All right, I got it.
There you go.
So, everybody who knew my dad would call him the GOAT man. So just to kind of throw that out there, hashtag whatever you need to do. At first we were just embarrassed by it, just because you don't want to be known as the dad who's the GOAT man. I mean, that's just weird. Especially we lived in the city, so it was just odd. But we learned that this is who he was. This is in the story I shared earlier. Very difficult, obviously, for me to read, but it embodies him. It tells you exactly what type of person he was outside of even our family. And so, my closing is really just about just encouraging you to be more influential and to really recognize the people who have influenced you. I think it's important to be a good example for people, but it shouldn't have to be something you have to try to do. It's just something you should want to do. And so, I'll leave you with this, is that I do a lot of interviewing for management positions, and one of the questions that we ask is, who is the most influential person. It's interesting because I talked to Jennifer about this a couple of weeks ago when I knew I was going to do this, and I thought, that is in all the questions that I go through, and I interview a ton of different types of people, but we're very consistent with our questions. That is my favorite question to ask anybody because of who my influencer was. I love to hear how people have influenced other people, and it just excites me. And so as you get out there, just be that person. And so just enjoy it because, sometimes it happens by accident and sometimes it's by design, but, just embrace it because I enjoy every minute of it.
Beautiful. Thank you, Brian. Ms. Jen.
So I'm going to do a little bit of a different close today. So I have a poem that I want to read, and it's got a little bit of a background. So it ties back to what we've been talking about on telling those people. So it's a poem that I actually wrote for my dad for a Father's Day gift. So I was able to gift it to him. And it's also the poem that, because I could not, Brian read at his funeral. And so I'm going to try really hard to read it today, but just a little bit of background on telling those people what they mean to you before you can't. So that's going to be my close, and then you can take it after I finish. How about that?
You got it.
Okay. Sometimes I sit and wonder how everything worked out. When everyone was skeptical, you never had a doubt. It was never a question of how can I support all four. Your statement was, God, somehow I've got to make more. You got up dark early to drive the bus and got a part-time job after school, all for us. You were so determined to play the hand you were dealt. You never listened to the ones that said, he cannot do it without help. You helped to bring out the individuals in us. You taught us from the beginning the importance of trust. Just sit down for a moment and clear all your thoughts and know that your children hold you close in their hearts. It's not because of what you bought or how many trips to the fair. We hold you in our hearts because you have always been there. You knew in your heart that you were all that we had, and you proved to everyone all we needed was our dad.
Allergies in the house. Beautiful. Thank you, Jennifer. And I'm going to close with this. The link to the after party, I made it. Thank you for DJ Hootie Hoots. It gave me the ability to post the link in Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And I'm going to close with Hal's comment. He says he appreciates the affection that we display and encourage in us all. We cannot remove the distrust in the industry without having affection for each other. And with that, y'all, love you. We're 3 minutes over. Thank you for being patient with us. And we're going to be in the party next. Y'all be cool. Peace.